Hi, welcome back to the live reading of my memoir, Rebirth. I'm reading chapter 32 today, so if you have not been here before, you don't know what I'm doing, I strongly encourage you to go back to the beginning and start from the beginning. I've been reading chapter by chapter, and I'm reading chapter 32, so we're almost at the end of the memoir, so I strongly encourage you to go back if you just landed here just now. If you've been following along, welcome. I'm so glad that you're still with me, and I really appreciate all the comments and the questions I've been receiving, the thoughts, the insights, the feedback. I so appreciate it. Please keep them coming. Write in the comments. That would be awesome. Like, share, make sure it reaches the people who are meant to hear this. So I'm reading chapter 32, entitled Round 2. At the hospital triage desk, the nurse asks why we're there. I sit in the chair in front of her, head bowed, hoping Mauro will take the lead. The air feels tight. The silence is a weighted blanket pressing on my chest. Her eyes pierce me, unblinking, waiting for answers. I glanced at Mauro, hoping he'd step in, but the silence stretched painfully. Unable to bear it, I forced out a response. Relief flickers through me, but it's short-lived. The nurse catches a hint of a smile on my face and rolls her eyes, her irritation palpable. She sighs, shakes her head, gathers the paperwork in front of her with both hands, and tells us to wait. I shuffle to the waiting area, head bowed, shoulders heavy with defeat. Mauro points to the baby blankets and gown we left behind the night before, still untouched. I sink into the chair, my body heavy. My attention is drawn to an older man sitting a few seats away. His gold cross glimmers against his chest, a reminder of my grandfather. His presence is serene, a soft, inviting glow amidst the harsh fluorescent lights. I smile at him, leaving one empty seat between us, the space brimming with unspoken words. I want to speak to him, but nothing comes. The silence is painful, like a weight pressing on my rib cage. A commotion at the triage desk pulls me out of my thoughts. A man sits down, his mouth wide open, locked in place. I yawned this morning, he says with some difficulty. My jaw just stayed open. The nurse doesn't hesitate. She waves him through the emergency door straight to the red chair. I glare at Mauro and mouth, come on. He reaches over and pats my leg, a gentle attempt to soothe me. We have to wait our turn, he says softly. Wait, always waiting. It's ridiculous. I don't even want to be here. He promised he'd act, but he sits beside me, motionless. I feel a childlike urge to disrupt the stillness, to break the inertia. I drop the core of the apple I was eating onto the floor. Nothing. I let the brochure in my hand slip to the ground. Still nothing. Can anyone see? Does anyone care? What do you want me to do? Mauro asked, his voice low. Something, I whispered. Anything. Why won't they take us seriously? He stood, walked to the reception desk, and asked how long it might be. The woman didn't look up. You have to wait your turn, she said. I still need to enter your information into the computer. Her words twisted inside me. It was like shouting into a void. Why are they ignoring us? I sighed, releasing the pressure in my chest, and turned my attention back to the older man. His eyes were closed, lips curled into a gentle smile. He looked as if he were praying. Drawn to the calm that radiated off him like heat from a fire, I slid into the seat next to him. I wanted to ask his name, but the courage wouldn't come. Before I found my voice, the sliding doors opened and a young woman appeared and called him inside. Eventually, we were called to the red chair, only to continue waiting there. A nurse eventually arrived to draw blood, as if the chair were merely another checkpoint on a never-ending loop. Is it necessary? Mauro asked, his voice tinged with concern. She's already lost so much blood. Can't you use yesterday's results? The nurse's irritation flared. I have to do it. Her eyes landed on the bruises decorating my arms. She took a step back from the chair, and for a moment, a playful softness replaced the hard edge in her voice. What's going on? Can't anyone draw blood from you? I tried to match her tone. No, that's what we've been trying to tell you. She shrugged, stepped forward again, and stuck the needle she was holding into my arm. Sharp, hot pain ensued, the new norm. Maybe a sign of a lack of blood in my veins. The sense of violation pushed me over the edge. I knew it was futile. Lashing out would only reinforce the narrative that I was suffering from severe psychosis, but I couldn't hold it in. I threatened to sue the hospital, not because of the nurse's clumsy technique, but because of the suffocating hopelessness gnawing at me, the endless waiting, the cold dismissals, the sense of being walled off from real help. And Father Mario's words echoing in my mind. If they do not cooperate, threaten to sue them. Everyone is scared of being sued these days. His words emboldened me to act despite the obstacles. They ignited a spark of hope. A last-ditch flare struck in the darkness, hoping someone, anyone, might see it. But it backfired. She had no context, no way of knowing about my conversation with Father Mario or the series of events that led me here. To her, I was just another difficult patient, my desperation mistaken for madness. She snapped back, her anger a wall I couldn't scale. I shrank into my seat, my threat dissipating like breath in cold air. She didn't understand. I tried to reassure myself that her anger was already simmering before she even reached us. Maybe it wasn't all my fault. Maybe if I had spoken up sooner, back in triage, things would have been different. We were sent to wait in room 5, the same room with a different number. The walls closed in around me and my skin tightened. How long do you think is a reasonable wait before it's obvious they won't help us? I asked Mauro. We have to wait patiently and see what happens. His voice was insistent, patient, always patient. I understand, I protested, but I also don't think the answer is to wait indefinitely. There must be a reasonable amount of time when we can honestly say something is wrong here and then we can leave. He just shook his head, his expression a mix of weariness and resolve. For now, let's be patient. Patience felt like surrender, like letting the walls close in around us without a fight. I bit my tongue, anchoring my attention on my breath, trying to ground myself in the silence. Finally, Mauro agreed. All right, if nothing happens by 7, we'll leave, he said. It was a compromise, the promise of a way out. Hope. My patience was wearing thin, so I used needing to use the bathroom as an excuse to escape to the hallway. The bright lights and open space felt like a breath of fresh air. At least I was moving, doing something, instead of just sitting and waiting. In the next room, I saw the man with the locked jaw. He was wearing a hospital bracelet. I had been given one yesterday, but not today. It was another sign that I didn't belong here. I found the bathroom around the corner and closed myself inside the tiny tiled space. My chest tightened again. Blood stained my underwear, and the childlike impulse took over again. I smeared it on the floor. Maybe if they saw blood, someone would care. The marbled floor absorbed it. The dark-colored specks swallowed the crimson. Of course, even blood disappeared here. Everything was designed to hide the mess. Disappointment seeped through me. Nothing I did made a mark. I drew a cross on the white door, a red mark on a blank canvas. No one could miss that. When I opened the door, a woman was standing there, her lips half curled into a smile that fell away the moment our eyes met. She was the same woman who had stared at me with anger from across the waiting room the night before. I grabbed a blanket from a cart in the hallway on my way back to room 5 and curled up on the bed, pulling my new treasure around me for warmth. I closed my eyes, wishing for sleep and escape. A young student nurse walked in, clipboard in hand, and began the same cycle of questions. Where do you live? Where was Evelyn born? I interrupted her. We've already answered these questions twice. Will we see the female OB? Yes, I promise, she said. I'm trying to help her. Her voice was soft. She was just doing her job. I dreaded answering these questions again. Each one chipped away at me, trapping me in a loop of stagnation. It only reinforced the gnawing feeling that I wasn't being taken seriously. My mind wrestled with being here, caught between the desire for help and the urge to retreat to the comfort of my home. I was ready to walk out, convinced I'd be fine without their help, but we stayed, waiting. Minutes stretched into hours, 5 long hours. My unease grew with each tick of the clock. Any moment now, the male doctor from the night before could walk back in, his presence a creeping shadow. When the clock struck 7, I was packed and ready to leave. As I stepped towards the door, it opened, and his face appeared, hardening as soon as he saw me. "You have to leave the hospital immediately," he snapped. "I was just about to," I replied, brushing past him. Panic flared. What if I were still bleeding internally? What if Evelyn could get an infection from it? I lifted her and marched to the emergency desk. "I need help." My voice cracked. "I might still be bleeding. I might have an infection. I don't know if it's safe to breastfeed my baby." Mauro appeared, pleading for help. He was asking for a different kind of help. Annoyed, I poured water from my bottle out on his head. Maybe that would get his attention. Then I slumped forward as the fight drained from me. I just wanted to go home. Then the doctor's voice thundered, "I'm calling Children's Aid." I jolted back, hurrying my steps forward towards the exit door. Things were spinning out of control. I felt the ground giving way beneath me, and the weight of not even wanting to give birth in a hospital, yet being here, more familiar with these walls than I'd ever been. I wanted a gentle birth surrounded with love, but instead I was caught in an endless cycle of waiting rooms and judgmental stares. The doctor was still yelling when I crossed the sliding doors back to the triage area. He continued to march towards me, fists waving. I rushed towards the exit doors, trying to keep my distance from him. My legs carried me, but my heart felt like a stone as I pushed through the last doors and into the cold air. I wanted the madness to end. I needed stillness and rest. I wanted to close the door on this chapter and find a way back to myself. Mauro caught up, looking defeated. We agreed we needed some quiet time without visitors to find peace. "I just want 7 days," I whispered. The words hung in the air as we walked away from the hospital, leaving the chaos behind. But my mind wouldn't quiet down. Sleep was out of the question. So I did the only thing that felt right. I sent another email. Subject: "Did you know this?" Our midwives had no idea what they were doing. The placenta was poorly delivered, and an OB had to scrape it out by hand 4 times. There was no follow-up to ensure my uterus had contracted. A week later, I went to the emergency room, convinced I had a prolapsed vaginal wall and retained placental tissue. The doctor dismissed my concerns. The following night, I passed more blood clots. 11 days postpartum, I experienced a massive hemorrhage, what felt like 4 liters with clots the size of oranges. They administered intravenous antibiotics and medication to contract my uterus, but I didn't feel any cramping. Evelyn developed a rash that disappeared the next day. 3 days later, we returned to the hospital, but they still wouldn't take us seriously. The report from our previous visit stated everything was normal, so they made us wait 5 hours before sending us home without any examinations. They simply assumed my uterus had contracted, even though I was still bleeding. Frustrated and feeling ignored, I poured water on Mauro's head, hoping he would advocate for me. I told the nurses I was afraid to breastfeed. Evelyn, concerned about a possible infection. They dismissed my fears, claiming that infections could not be transmitted through breast milk. However, my doctor had said the same about antibiotics, yet I could smell them in Evelyn's urine after my IV, just like when she was given an IV as a newborn. Instead of performing an ultrasound or offering any meaningful assistance, they informed us that they were calling Children's Aid. Unbelievable. And that is the end of chapter 32. And we're almost done. We're in the final stretches. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you like and share and comment and send me your questions, your thoughts, your insights. I love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here, and see